He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi a better chance to live, work, and play. We have a great show today, but before we get to our special guest today, I want to remind you, pay attention to the tropics. We don't yet know what the situation is going to be. The tropical storm, depression, we don't know exactly what's going to emerge from the Yucatan Peninsula, but all the atmospheric conditions are in place for whatever it is to be drawn north. Most of the experts on this say it's going to be a strong tropical storm, most likely, but you never know. So you just need to prepare, as we discussed yesterday with the deputy director of MEMA. Just have your hurricane plan ready to go, and just pay attention to the weather. One other thing, I had the opportunity the other day. I reposted my conversation with Dorothy Roberts about her mother, Lucy Marion Roberts, and Colonel Lawrence Roberts. You know Dorothy. You know her sister Sally Ann from TV over in New Orleans. You know her sister Robin Roberts from Good Morning America. But their parents were just amazing leaders in the community. And her mother, Lucy Marion, was just a dear friend of mine. She served on my board. She was also a friend, but she also served on the Knight Foundation board. I had the opportunity to be chairman of for a number of years, and we were very, very close. She died in 2012. Unfortunately, but her legacy continues to live on. And Dorothy sent a nice note, and I just wanted to share it with you. She said, "Thanks, Ricky Mathews, for capturing the stories of Mississippi Coast residents. As Mom would say, people have more in common than their differences. Let's replace racism, hatred, and violence with true love, care, and compassion for all people. It can happen one person at a time." And I sent her back a note and just said, yeah, I plan to be one of those people, #one person at a time. So thank you, Dorothy, for your continued friendship and your inspiration, and I look forward to continuing the conversations. So now let's turn to our friend, Travis Lunn, the president and CEO. He's actually over the Beau Rivage and Gold Strike up in Tunica. And we'll talk about that and the collaboration between the two organizations. He was actually named one of the top 25 people to watch in the industry by Global Gaming Business Magazine in 2019. He's been on the coast a little over a year and a half, and I've really been looking forward to talking to him. I heard great things about him. I heard an interview with him on SuperTalk Mississippi last week as he talked about the reopening. We're going to talk about MGM, how the Beau Rivage and Gold Strike fit into that. We'll talk about his journey through the gaming industry. Where did he grow up, et cetera. It's going to be a fascinating conversation. Anyway, good morning, Travis.
Morning, Ricky. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
It's great to see you. One of the things I really want to ask you about right out the bat is, so you've been here for a year and a half. Have you fallen in love with coastal Mississippi yet?
I really have. I've adapted quickly to the lifestyle, and everyone is kind of ribs me on it. Part of that is, the outdoors aspect of living here on the coast is something I've really enjoyed. Hopefully you can see I've got a Horn Island tan going on right here, but
yeah,
just getting out on the water, the access to the water, fishing, all these small towns that we have where each one of them has a unique personality. When we first moved here, the wife and I would go every Sunday up and down the coast and try a different restaurant in one of the different, little small seaside towns we have here. And so we really acclimated quickly to living here. And probably the biggest thing we were actually concerned about, which I would say has been such a pleasant surprise. I have 2 teenage boys, and we were really worried about moving 2 teenagers. He's a senior. He was going in to be a senior in high school, and he was born and raised in Las Vegas. And when moving, a kid their senior year might be tough, but he has just a great group of friends. He goes out fishing 2-3 times a week, and they absolutely love it here. That's been just terrific for us. How great the community really has embraced us.
That's so awesome to hear. I'm actually sitting in my fishing room now. I spend a lot. I live on the water in Biloxi. Spend a lot. Basically my entire life on the water. Some of the fishing here is the best in the world. Maybe you and your sons can join us sometime. It's an average day offshore for us is about a 200-mile run, and we leave the house and we get back in the afternoon and we have a great time. But it's special once you really start to dive in and see all of these angles and the amenities of coastal Mississippi. And then you add into the people of this place is what makes it so darn special. And, we talk about that all the time on the show, but I'm glad that you're acclimating. I'm certainly glad your family has made the transition. And I'm not surprised. It is hard to move teenagers at that stage of their lives. But it's great to hear that the experience has been terrific for you. So let's do this. Like I said, I saw the interview with Gallo on SuperTalk Mississippi, and maybe some of the people on the coast heard that interview. But let's kind of go back through it again, because I thought the way you guys sent employees up to Gold Strike and began to really prepare. This is a complicated thing, operating in a COVID environment. If you just take COVID out of it and you close your casino down and your operation down and have to reopen again, it's not, you just don't, flip a light switch. It's complicated, but you had to retrain your employees. Let's kind of walk through that.
Sure. So one of our earliest thought process around being MGM Resorts, as you exactly said, part of a larger organization, we have 18 properties here across the states, and they really are unique. Each property is different in terms of the demographic, in terms of what really drives the business engine for that property, whether it's convention, whether it's local casino drive-in, or whether it's fly-in from Las Vegas. And so one of the things we really took advantage of and the opportunity of was to do a staggered opening, not only here in Mississippi, but we're following that same example in Las Vegas. And there were really just a lot of benefits from having opened one property, send in other resources, both to support that opening, but then also really to gain those learnings. And so we sent a big team up to Beau Rivage to support that effort there, took those learnings down to Beau Rivage, and then we actually, during our opening, June 1st to the public, we had a lot of colleagues from our Detroit property, which is opening in 3 weeks, here on site. And that will continue to happen across our portfolio. And so we're really happy to say, actually, in Las Vegas, we're opening several of our resorts today. MGM Grand, Bellagio, New York actually are able to open today. And you better believe there'll be a lot of other sister properties supporting that effort, one, to learn, and then two, really to support, of course, too, and to really understand, hey, jump in, be on the front lines, be ready there to welcome our guests back.
Well, your company has been an innovative company over all the years, and focused on finding best practices. And one of the great things about being a company like that is that as you continue to tweak how we're going to abide by all the regulations that are in place around COVID and how to make the experience safe, you're going to learn a lot of things. And so let's talk a little bit. When someone walks through the Beau Rivage today, what do they see? What do they sense? Tell me about that.
Yeah, if I could even back up, Ricky, it really started with our team members. And so we wanted to be really thoughtful about their orientation, because they're really that first introduction to the guest, right? And that first piece of communication, whether they're asking them to abide by whatever social distancing rule. And so first, right off, before all of our team members, including myself, we actually have our temperature taken every single day as we come onto property. It's a really, actually, very fluid process. It's a thermal camera, so you don't have to stop and actually have your temperature taken. You can kind of continue to walk, and it automatically just signals an alarm. And we have a whole process that if that alarm does signal, the MGM Resorts family is, supporting whether they need to go to a doctor, obviously, and have a COVID test, all sorts of, obviously, support around that process. But right off the bat, that sets the tone. And it is mandatory for team members to wear a mask. And before any team member returned to work, we had a 4-hour training session, again, which I attended myself, where we went through all those new set of safety protocols to really help them familiarize themselves with all these new procedures before they even step back to what their job was. Because if you were a waiter returning, if you were a dealer returning, if you were a EVS housekeeper returning, there were a lot of new steps and measures that were introduced. And so we really took our time making sure that they felt very comfortable. And so that then now, when we were ready to welcome our guests, we felt prepared. Our team members felt confident. They were ready to serve our guests. And so it wasn't about suddenly being inundated with a lot of masses and being overrun by crowds. We also phased that opening to make sure that they could take their time, have those interactions. Because I'll give an example. One of the new interactions at the table games is that after each guest walks away from the table games, we're to wipe down the area of that table game, wipe down the chair. Well, that's a new, obviously, protocol for us. We've never done that before. And so just getting them used to, okay, wait a minute, before a new guest sits down at that table, someone now needs to come in and wipe down that chair. What is the steps of service around that, the nuances around that? What's that guest interaction look like? And so we did a lot of training around that so that the guest felt really comfortable when we had to go and do that interaction.
Wow, that. This is such an attention to detail. But
Yeah.
I mean, as we've talked about on this show so many times, if you don't have an attention to detail, this unfortunate disease will find the weak spots of your plan. That is for sure. Anyway, we're coming to the end of this segment, and we'll pick it up there. We want to continue the conversation about all that has been done at the Beau Rivage to make a visitor's visit safe, so they don't have to worry about whether you get it or not. They're going to come here, and we're going to continue to work hard to create coastal Mississippi's competitive advantage to show people that they can have a safe vacation here, a safe visit here, and we'll continue that when we get back on the other side of the break. This is Travis Lunn, the president and CEO of the Beau Rivage and Gold Strike up in Tunica. We'll be back after this break.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. We're having a conversation with Travis Lunn, the Chief Operating Officer and President of Beau Rivage. He also has responsibilities for Gold Strike up in Tunica. And when we went to break, we were really just kind of going through the process of training employees, making sure that they are, certainly they are healthy as they come on to the property. And then let's just kind of continue that conversation. What's it look like to the average person who would walk into the Beau Rivage and all the different adjustments that have been made?
Sure. Well, Ricky, one of the things I was really proud of with MGM Resorts is that, once we received, even before actually we received our gaming regulations, we were partnering with obviously experts in the health and wellness space and really soliciting their expertise and saying, okay, we want this still to be an environment of entertainment. We want folks to be able to come to our property and have fun and still enjoy themselves. And so what are the things that we can introduce and still satisfy and make sure that we're creating a safe environment, but then still allow for people to feel comfortable? And so a lot of the things that we introduced at both of our properties here in Mississippi and across the MGM Resorts portfolio are actually above and beyond even what the state regulators might ask us to do. A couple of examples of those are hand washing stations. So that is something new that you've probably never seen in a casino floor before, but now our guests will have an opportunity, quite literally right when they walk into the main casino to the left, a very nicely done hand washing station. There's other measures such as we're starting to leverage digital innovations. So in all of our restaurants, you can actually use a QRC code. Instead of being handed either a plastic menu or a paper menu that we have used in the past, you can actually zap a QRC code right as you're walking into the restaurant, and that menu will be available for you on your own personal phone. And so it's really being thoughtful about some of those interactions where there maybe was a touch point previously that we could now potentially avoid. But some of the things that definitely look and feel different when you walk onto the property, and I'll use Beau Rivage as the example, you'll see the use of polycarb in a lot of our places where we know that that's a close interaction with our guest and team member. And so whether you're checking in and registering at the front desk, or if you're in any of our retail outlets, or of course if you're at majority of our table games, you'll see that there's that polycarb barrier between the guest and the team member. And we've gotten terrific feedback so far. Again, we've been open for a week or so here, Gold Strike a couple weeks. The addition of that's not something that's not a regulation that was stipulated, but we've really received positive feedback from our guests, and that's made them feel comfortable. That was the main thing, is we know still in our industry, in our business, word of mouth is still such a positive, powerful thing. And so our guests now that we've been able to welcome back this past week are certainly going back and telling the story of that, boy, you can go visit the coast, go visit Beau Rivage, Gold Strike. They're doing it right. If you look at other industries, we've always tried to hold ourselves accountable to a higher level. In the hotel industry, we have things like just TripAdvisor keeping us honest, where we get a lot of the court of public opinion. And so, feedback is really critical to us. And so, but throughout all these measures that we've introduced, the key thing is that we are still a great source of entertainment. We have great portfolio of restaurants here at Beau Rivage, obviously all of the gaming. We have our beautiful pool deck that we've been able to open up, and things that we've done there as an example at the pool deck is now the chairs are just socially distanced and spaced, and we're being thoughtful that, obviously as guests are going in the pool and things like that. And so what we've been really conscious of doing is that if we want to continue to grow our business here on the coast and open up, is we need to make sure we do an excellent job of the opportunity that we've been provided by the state regulators and the Gaming Commission and adhering to those. And so that's exactly what we're doing. We're making sure that our guests feel really comfortable coming into the building, having a great time, so that as those curves flatten, as there's more opportunity to welcome more business, we're going to be first and ready to do that here on the coast.
What's so interesting, and you know this from your communication with others, but whether I talk to a mayor or a supervisor or a museum leader or other casino operators, Milton Segura from Coastal Mississippi, there's incredible alignment that if Coastal Mississippi gets this right, if we create not just the impression, but the strong belief from our visitors that we're a safe place to visit, that we can reopen, we can move business up to levels that are way faster than the typical market. We just have a real opportunity to get this right. And I'm telling you, I have conversations about this every single day, and there is incredible alignment around this. And I know you see this too. I mean, that's got to make you feel good to know that your partners in the community join with you to make this a safe visit.
Yeah, in fact, actually, we have a monthly meeting with Mayor Fofo and all of our colleagues, the leadership along the coast here in the casino environment, to do exactly that. Believe me, I assure you, we're plenty competitive. But you are. We do align on that there's such a great opportunity when we do get behind certain things, like whether it's the PGA event at obviously Fallen Oak or Cruising the Coast in October, and we align together as one coast on these great events. It's amazing the visitation, the growth that we can experience when we are a collective whole, because we definitely are better together amongst all the coastal communities than just as a single entity. And so it's one of the things that is really resonated, with our company as well. And we've seen this in other situations, whether it was, the recession or other situations such, October 1, the regional operations do recover quickly in those past two instances than Las Vegas. Historically, Las Vegas does trail behind. And so, I've got some support, obviously, from my senior leadership, even in my company, to help drive sort of these regional efforts. We believe that there is going to be more of that drive-in opportunity. People aren't going to maybe return to flying as quickly. And so we think Las Vegas will probably trail behind a little bit. And so that's, again, as you said, a wonderful opportunity for us that if we can execute, still, you were mentioning earlier about the service. I'll put a little shout out there for my team. Beau Rivage is #1 in our entire company in our service scores, something we're really proud of, and sure, that's part of the culture, but our team members work hard at doing that. They do an excellent job. And so we're going to leverage that, be able to come here and know that, boy, you can't get a better experience in terms of the level of service. People are really going to enjoy themselves. And can we start to drive some loyalty through that? That maybe someone did take a trip somewhere else in the past, but now they're going to drive in. And why not get them here down on the coast and show them what a wonderful time they can have here?
Travis, I am convinced that's what's going to happen, because if you look at the stats prior to COVID, 80% of the visitor here already was driving. And if you just look at, I was looking the other day reading an industry report on the RV community, and some of the RV leasing companies, their business is up 1,000%. So there's so much evidence already that suggests people want to go. They have pent up demand to go somewhere. They just need to know where to go. And I tell you what I've been doing. I've been telling Mississippians across this state, come stay in Mississippi. If you're leery about going out, know that this state gets it, and there's so much to discover here. And come to the coast and enjoy it, and know that these people down here get it. I'm convinced that we're gonna lead as it relates to that. I just am. I just think and God forbid we get an outbreak, we have to deal with that. But so far so good. All the stats are bearing out for us, and let's hope we continue to move in that direction.
Yeah, for sure.
So in the short time we have left in this segment, just remind people how big and what some of the brands are related to MGM Resorts.
So it's been interesting for me being, as you said earlier, about a year and a half now on the coast. Most of my experience was in Las Vegas, and it's been a wonderful learning opportunity for me to see that how important regional business really is to MGM Resorts. And so if you look at the growth of our company in totality, a lot of that was really driven from the regionals. And so while the Beau Rivage and Gold Strike have been here for a number of years, we actually just happily celebrated 20 years last year here at the Beau Rivage. We've actually acquired or developed a lot of properties in the region. So Springfield, Massachusetts, we have a new property that we just built within the last year and a half. National Harbor right outside of DC was just built the last couple of years. And then we acquired 2 new properties, one in Northfield, Ohio, and one in Empire City, New York. And so those were added to our 2 properties here in Mississippi. And then we'd had a property in Detroit and Borgata, Atlantic City. And so if you look at the growth trajectory of MGM Resorts, we haven't developed or built a new resort in Las Vegas in quite some time. And so that investment in our regional properties has really been clear from MGM Resorts. And so that signals something to me that was part of my decision to obviously leave Las Vegas after a long and great journey there, and feel very fortunate to obviously land here at the Beau. But yeah, we really are, and it's a diverse company, and so our business models are different. The Beau Rivage, as an example, we really are a resort destination. We have golf course amenities, we have the pool amenities, we have the spa, we have all of the restaurants, where some of our businesses like Detroit, that is more of a local casino. And so it really is a diverse portfolio. But one of the great things as an overall thing and guest to be understand is that we have a great MLife program and a loyalty program. And so if you tap into one of our properties, there's great benefits across the entire portfolio.
Let's do this, Travis. I'm curious about your path. Where did you grow up, et cetera. We'll come back to that after we come back from the break. But this is Travis Lunn, the president and CEO of Beau Rivage, with responsibilities for Gold Strike and Tunica as well. And we'll see you after this break.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast Vue on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to supertalkmsgulfcoast.com.
He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. We have Travis Lunn, the president and CEO of the Beau Rivage. He also has responsibilities for Gold Strike up in Tunica. And we were talking before we went to the break about this large company, MGM Resorts, that the Beau Rivage and Gold Strike are part of. We're so lucky to have the Beau Rivage. I remember the day that it opened and all the excitement leading up to the opening of it. And I used to say in speeches, I don't even know if this is exactly true. I don't even know if the numbers have ever been reported, but it cost $750 million to build it, and it cost $750 million to repair it after Katrina. I don't know. Is that close?
Yes, very close. Yeah,
well,
very accurate.
I used to say that because what I said was, after Katrina, we worked really hard. You probably know that story really well, to get, land-based, and we were immediately within a week after the storm having conversations about that. And, but we were really, really concerned about managing the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that existed around the world as it related to coastal Mississippi, and it was so important that gaming organizations, invest. And once we started to understand the full scope of the damage to the Beau Rivage, not just from the storm surge, but from the roof and all that happened there, we were really concerned about that. And boy, the day that they said we're going to rebuild and we're going to contribute to the success of coastal Mississippi and all they did there, man, how that was so important, because what a gem of a place. Anything you want to say about that before we move to you?
Yeah, real quickly on that, actually, thank you, is that, and really kudos to our team members here for that, is that I've shared with them that it wasn't by accident that MGM Resorts selected the Mississippi properties, both Mississippi properties, to open up first for and represent our entire organization. If you think about the resiliency of these team members, the positive attitude of these team members, the willingness to sort of pick themselves up and say, we can do this. No one can say that better than both the Gold Strike properties that experienced a flood up north and closed down, or Beau Rivage, obviously from Katrina. They were the only two properties in the entire MGM Resorts portfolio to have ever closed their doors before, which is very unique for us, obviously, in the casino business. 24/7, 365. And so I've really shared with them, and this was expressed by our CEO, Bill Hornbuckle, that it wasn't a mistake. It wasn't by accident. Certainly the Mississippi gaming regulations allowed us to open up on the front side. But it was also, I think, a little bit of destiny there that our team members, I think, were the most capable, ready, resilient, and able to do that. And so it's really a credit to them that those experiences, I think, shaped their character and their ability to overcome some long odds. And I think that's the case here with COVID as well. And I think our team members are going to rise to the occasion again.
Well, I think you're right about that, Travis. I often say that resiliency is in our DNA in coastal Mississippi. And Katrina taught us that, we came out of Katrina, I mean, our community was decimated, but we were able to join hands and dig deep. And, look where we are today. And we're going to do that in this COVID situation. At least we're not dealing with destruction this time. So we just have an economic problem that we'll work through, and we'll learn to live in this new world. So you cut your teeth in hotel operations, and you eventually went on to get other experience in the gaming industry. But where did you grow up? Tell me about your early life.
Well, so as hard as they are trying, my coworkers here at the Beau Rivage, to convert me to Who Dat Nation, I grew right up outside of Boston. So I'm a diehard New England Patriots fan. So I get some slack for that a little bit. But yeah, I grew up right outside of Boston and pretty much lived half my life there growing up through my youth. And then my dad had actually relocated to Las Vegas about the middle of life, and I moved down there to go to UNLV and graduate from the hotel school down there in Las Vegas. And when I was pursuing my career there, I was really blessed by just the incredible growth. This is 25 years ago that was happening in the city. I mean, this was quite literally, we would get together and go see a building be imploded. It was a common occurrence, and then replaced with just this beautiful new mega resort. And so what that did, it created a lot of, obviously, job opportunity and job growth. When a new resort opened up, you had 5,000 to 6,000 jobs in just one single shot in the arm to that economy. And so I was really able to, I would have always planned and thought that I would go back to Boston and work in a hotel downtown and go to Fenway Park after, my day's end working. But really fell in love with the city, fell in love with the energy of the city. The people in that industry were just incredible. And there was, quite frankly, a lot of opportunity. As you could really develop a career there. Cost of living was great, of course, too, compared to Boston. But I was fortunate along the way. I really had a lot of great leaders and mentors that really gave me an opportunity and opened doors for me. And it's one of the things, a philosophy that I've had really early in my career is I really try to work for people versus working for a company. Now, the companies certainly have to have a core set of values that are in alignment with my core values, which I've found certainly in MGM Resorts. But even within any organization that my values align with, I really look for leaders that I either aspire to be like, or maybe that I know are willing to challenge me, or willing to give me that honest feedback. And that's really proven successful for me, is that, I'm following leaders. And sometimes we can get enamored, I think, in our careers with the name on the outside of the door. And it's, the examples I live, if you're working for a luxury hotel and there's no career opportunities, or that leader isn't investing with you, well, maybe a moderate hotel, that if someone's investing in you and giving you career opportunities and things to grow, that can be actually a better career path for you. So don't always be enamored with the name on the door outside of the hotel door. It really is about the people within the building, and are they going to challenge you, or are they going to give you opportunities? And so I've really been conscious about following those leaders. And what's exciting for me now is at this stage in my career that I try to hold myself accountable to is pay it forward. It's a phrase that I really try to live by. And since I've been really fortunate to have those individuals who've, put me in coach, I'm ready to play, and giving me those opportunities to learn in an environment where I can make mistakes and feel comfortable making those mistakes and learning from those, I try to afford my people that work with me or look for those individuals and afford them that same opportunity and pay it forward. And I'm telling you, that is one of the best parts of what I do, is when you can find a young leader or someone who's coming up in the organization and create a pathway for them and assist them in that journey. I found it more rewarding than any sort of title or promotion that I've received along my career path, is being able to do that for someone else.
When you go back and look at your career, what's interesting is that it's true that you picked really good mentors to work with along the way. And one of the things that you decided to do, you weren't going to skip any steps. You built a foundation that enabled you to have the job you have today. And it's going to be interesting to see where you go from here. But you left no stone unturned in getting all the experience you needed. Every aspect of the hotel side, and then moving into the gaming, and then understanding the total amenities side of this. It's a complicated business, and to do it well, you really have to know it from the ground up, don't you?
You do. One of the things I really enjoy is the complexity of our business and how all of the different lines of business intertwine. And so while I'll never claim to be a master of any of one of those individual lines of business, I'm kind of a jack of all trades, and at least can say I've walked in that shoes. It gives me a little bit of empathy and maybe an ability to listen a little bit longer and understand a perspective from one of those lines of business. But when we never make a decision in a silo in our business. So if I make a decision in the hotel, it's going to have an impact on our casino. It's going to if I make a decision on entertainment, vice versa, it's going to have an impact on those other lines of business. And so, learning those other areas really gives you a different level of respect and appreciation. One of the stories early in my career that I think about is I was a front desk manager, and we were having challenges with housekeeping. And it was kind of easy to point the finger, quite frankly, and say, what's going on with housekeeping? And they're not turning the hotel, and there's dirty rooms, and so on and so forth. So I said, well, let me go work in housekeeping. Boy, when I got on that other side of the fence and understood some of the things that we were actually doing at the front desk, whether it was not communicating with them effectively or providing them the right information or checking in rooms incorrectly, we were actually the source of a lot of the challenges. And so that was the early lesson that I said, boy, definitely don't cast stones. You really understanding both sides of the business is really key in our industry, because it's a ripple effect, right? You drop the rock in the water and it ripples across the lake. And so that really is our business. It has a cause and effect to it.
And you know what? If you're not committed to continuous improvement and understanding the holistic effect of all these things, then the person who suffers is your customer. And you don't want them to suffer. You want them to come in and have a flawless, wonderful experience. And to do that, every time someone walks in the door over and over again, my goodness, the amount of attention to detail is really incredible. It really is. So why don't we do this? I've got a couple other questions. You hold your thought, and we're at the end of this segment, and we'll come back and we'll let you catch your thought that you're about to have on the other side of this. But it's awesome hearing your story. I bet with Tom Brady going to Tampa, and now him and Drew Brees going head to head, that's going to be fun for you, actually.
Well, so I'll be honest on that one, sure.
This is Travis Lunn from the Beau Rivage and Gold Stripe. We'll be back after this break.
Subscribe for free to the Coast Vue podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I'm so thrilled to have Travis Lunn visiting with us today. What a great leader. What a terrific guy. It's been great hearing your story, Travis. Hey, before we were leaving the conversation about what it takes to satisfy a customer, you were going to make a point. Let's make sure you have the opportunity to make that point.
I was just going to share and acknowledge it really takes a team member who cares. We can instill a lot of protocols, a lot of SOPs, but at the end of the day, that team member owns their attitude and whether they care or not. And we are just so fortunate here at the Beau Rivage and our northern property Gold Strike, where we have exactly that, team members who simply care. The tenure here at Beau Rivage is incredible. So many individuals, obviously even after that a year where we closed for Katrina, stayed around and wanted to make sure that they were available to return to the Beau. And so we have, I want to say, close to 700-800 team members that are day one team members here at the Beau Rivage, been with us for 20 years. And so you just can't replace that. It's part of where they grew up. It's part of who they are. And they have that relationship with our guests, quite frankly, for 20 years. One of the stories that I always like to share is we had our 20-year anniversary. I actually got a couple letters from guests, an apology note saying that they were so sorry that they were unable to be there with us and share that special moment. That just shows you how much they care about the Beau experience and really care about the team members. They always mention our guests. I never get a letter, really, even though the building's beautiful, about our building. It's really always about specifically naming our team members and the relationship that they have and how they've so enjoyed coming and spending time with them for 10, 15, 20 years. When we opened our doors here, even post-COVID, they really wanted to get back and just check in on our team members and see how they were doing. And so that's really special and something that I found is actually pretty unique. I worked in Las Vegas for a long time. It's something we strive for, but that is something that is really, I think, pretty special to Beau and pretty special to Gold Strike, that they have a relationship over a number of years with our guests.
That's so good to hear, and it's so true. It's always about the people at the end of the day. It's so much about the people. I bet when you grew up in Boston, you never in your wildest imagination thought you would end up on the Gulf Coast.
No.
But you know what? It's a small world, isn't it? I mean, I bet you bump into people all the time that are from Boston or that area.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's incredible. We do have quite a few transplants that I've seen either out on the water. There are some similarities. Growing up, we had a place up a little above us up north on the Fresh Lakes up in New Hampshire. And so there is a fishing mentality, obviously being on the coast with Boston, and people like to get out on the water and we are recreational in that aspect. And so were some common denominators where, one, I felt very comfortable with that transition. But no, I can tell you, quite frankly, that transparently, the first time I visited Mississippi was when I first came here and applied for the role. And so, I knew there was going to be a little bit of an adjustment period. But again, can't thank the community, whether it's my colleagues, whether it's people here at work, whether it's my neighborhood. My adjustment here has been really wonderful because of that, because the community embraces you, they welcome you, they want you to succeed, they root for you. And that's just contagious. And so now I'm hopefully returning the favor and rooting for the coast and rooting for the community, likely, and leveraging hopefully my role to be an advocate for the coast and understand what can I do with this position, knowing that the Beau is, is one of the premier resorts that we have on the coast. And am I being responsible and am I challenging myself enough to make sure that I'm doing what I can to continue to promote the coast and attract visitors to here?
Well, let me give you a belated welcome to paradise.
Yeah.
Because I love this place. I had many opportunities to leave along my career, and while I did during the latter part of my career, have stints in Alabama and Louisiana, I always had a sort of a base station in Mississippi. I love it here. So, one of the things, if I look back at all my experiences at the Beau Rivage, I had so many. Lord have mercy. I mean, we used to have the Sun Herald Leadership Awards there, and I was so proud of that and the opportunity to recognize leaders. But I remember one dinner with Haley Barber and Tom Fazio and only one or two other people, and to get a chance to get to know him. As most people may know, he's the man who designed Fallen Oaks your golf course. And it was just, man, I just sat back and took it all in as Haley Barber and Tom Fazio and one or two others at the table just had such an awesome conversation. But man, what a special treat that is to have that be part of your organization, that golf course, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember when I first came down here, the CEO of the company said he knew I wasn't that great of a golfer, and he said, Travis, if I come down there in 6 months and you're a 3 handicap, we're going to have conversations. So, I try not to spend too much time out there, but boy, it's hard to stay away because it really is quite an amenity, something we are so blessed and fortunate to have and able to leverage. Our guests that we even welcomed back this past weekend, a couple of our most loyal guests had their Fallen Oak t-shirts, and they weren't shy coming up to me and saying, Travis, let's get out there again. We haven't actually opened it yet. We're forecasting to open it the middle of July. But when you talk about the scale of what, the thousands, tens of thousands of tons of sands that we imported and the number of oaks that we have across that golf course, it quite simply is one of the best amenities that we have.
It's a special place. It really is. I play golf once a year just to remind myself why I don't play. So that's about it. I hunt and fish, man, and I spend a lot of time in the outdoors. But hey, we're coming to the end of our time together. I look forward to, we had to sit down and have a glass of wine together. You need to come and go fishing with us. I'll extend that invitation, and I'll let you know when we're going to go again. But it's been a treat to finally get to meet you and get to hear your story. And congratulations on being back open again.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Ricky.
Yes, this has been Travis Lunn from the Beau Rivage, and have a great day.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.